This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to everybody. I hope you can all hear me. My name is Peter Rusinjak, and I work as a policy officer in the American Chamber of Commerce. It's my pleasure to welcome everybody to the second webinar AmCham is putting together in cooperation with our member companies. We will shortly begin the topic of which I believe which is very current at the moment and very actual, and that is the effective home office. We will talk about some tips and tricks we will receive from our fellow host, some hints how to, I would say, how to survive these kind of complicated and unusual times, being locked back home with our families, with everybody, and try to stay effective, try to stay efficient, working remotely. It's a kind of a extraordinary situation for all of us, and that's also the reason why AmCham has decided to launch a series of interesting webinars on topics that should help our members to, I would say, keep the business going in the complicated times. Before we actually go to the content itself, I would like to also mention that please be aware of the fact that the whole session is going to be recorded, due to the fact that we would like to share the content also online afterwards for other members who couldn't join us today live. And we would like to provide the opportunity to all of them as well to be able to watch our webinar. So please be aware of the fact that this webinar will be recorded. Due to the fact that we have a very interesting variety of members being plugged in, ranging from HR all the way to marketing and communication experts. And given the fact that we have a quite high number of attendees, which we are very thankful for, we kindly ask all participants to mute their microphones while they are not speaking. It's very important to preserve your microphone to be on mute, in order to allow I would say clean bandwidth for the one who is speaking at the moment. And also we kindly encourage our members who are plugged in to pose questions and comments to our speaker, to our host, using the chat function. The chat function is there to pose the question either directly to the host or openly to everybody. And we will be happy to answer any of the questions you might have, which we believe is also very useful to share some tips and tricks from your side, how we can all manage to be effectively working on remote. So I guess we are all about to set regarding today's topics, and I'm happy to pass the word over to Lele Terenzani, who is a social media expert in IBM, in one of our member companies, and who, as a matter of fact, as well leads the social media group within AmCham's Business Service Center Forum, which is the umbrella organization for the shared service industry in Slovakia. Lele leads the group of social media experts looking after our web pages, our social media accounts, etc., etc. So Lele, thank you so much for willing to host today's session. We are looking forward to hearing the tips and tricks from your side.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, everyone. So it's true. You can, I mean, you are muted as default, but if you want, you can unmute yourself and ask aloud, right? I used actually this type of WebEx that is like a meeting where everyone can actually intervene and ask, right? It's not a webinar style. This is more of a collaborative style. So, and that's actually what I would like to get from here is, you know, we are in all a variety of different setup, right? So some one of us, they have different jobs, different tools, different type of computers and so on. So it's very important that I'm not able to cover every single aspect, right? But I would like to get your questions so that we can actually discuss. And the collective crowd is always positive at one point. So something about me. Peter presented me so nicely, but one thing to share is that I'm working in IBM right here, but I'm not sharing anything that is part of the IBM way to do. I'm more sharing like what is my experience in the last years, because I'm mostly working from home, right? So I've been working from home in the last like four years, and at the same time I cooperate with some groups to help how to collaborate more virtually, right? So I'm part of an area in IBM that is called digital sales. So where actually the sellers have to get in touch with clients through digital means, right? So I try to advise them on the best way to do it. And at the same time, I'm part of a group that is called Information Overload Research Group, where we also try to share hints and tips how to avoid information overload from one side, right? But also how to make our life smarter, right? So I try to experiment on the best way to go through the tools, to go through the collaboration. And I think there are several basic principles that we can all focus on that could actually help us much more, right? So I'm gonna share my screen. Here we go. So where I don't have any deck prepared, but I'm gonna build a deck with all of you. That's my idea. So uh, where we start? So we start with home. Now we are all in this kind of interesting situation where everybody or many of us have to work from home, and many of us had to reinvent the way how to do it. We were used maybe to go to the office or to do it in a different way, right? So now, how does it work? How is the best way to do it? So I divided in. We have a bonus part if we have time. I will just share you my bonus personal idea. But first, I would divide all in three aspects, right? So one is humanity. That means how we cooperate and deal with humans in that way, right? One is about tools. Tools is very important. What are the tools to use? How to use it? And the one part is as well the time management. So it's difficult now. I have two little ones at home. I know how nowadays the world became much more kind of human from one side, right? That everybody entered in the home of everybody else, but at the same time, how can we cope with it, right? What is the best way, right? So, what's the best way to cope with home and work if they're together, right? So that's a question mark. So first point is very important is for me is always to focus on people, right? So you can hear a lot of hints and tips around on how to work smarter, how to save time and so on. But one point is we tendentially we get on the coffee and we talk, right? We have a desk mate, and usually in the last years, every time I sat on a desk, my desk mate became kind of a friend. We went for lunch together and so on. Right? So that's something that had human interaction. So we should perhaps try to do it as well nowadays. So there is a video for it. Right. So video for it means we can see each other, right? And now not required now, but usually when we talk to colleagues, the best way is to try as well to have a video there, to have the opportunity to um, bring the video on, right? So that where you can not only talk but also show, right? That's and one thing we actually experimented as well with the BSc social media team is that we meet most regularly, right? And everybody of us is in different companies, so it's very hard to find the possibility to meet in one place. So we kept meeting on video. So once a week at least, we had this opportunity to meet on video, and that's actually how you can really get in touch with also the people, right? And bring the video on is also to show yourself, right? But also to use gestures. Many times, when you when you talk to someone, only the audio doesn't, and you don't understand exactly everything, right? So video, you have the full possibility. And on top of it, I think when you do a team meeting, for example, and imagine there might be different time zones. In the case of the video, the added value that the video has connected with the face-to-face conversation is that you can record. Recording is quite handy, particularly because you can watch it again. You can play it again, or people that are not able to join in that moment will be able to at least to hear if they're there to spend some time for it. And that means you have a team meeting, you cannot join, you have, there is a problem, maybe kids are crying in that moment, or you have to do something with them, you cannot really be in the team meeting. But the rest of the team, of course, cannot block from you. The recording might help. So anytime you might have a team meeting, is actually handy as well to have this kind of habit and to have the recording. You might not never use it, but if you can use it, you can share it, and that's kind of handy. The recording adds another problem that is the length. If the team meeting is too long, it's hard to digest the recording at the same time. So length should be, I would say, between 20 and 30 minutes, right? So if we shorten the meetings as such, we might be able to allow more people to increase the accessibility. So that's kind of important. At the same time, from a video perspective, you could also consider, how this video effectively works, right? So sometimes you might have people with different speed of internet, so there is a latency connected with it. It's called latency. That is basically the difference. Maybe I'm saying something and you're getting it at one point, not immediately, right? It might be. So consider that as a part of a normality meeting. So give people space, particularly if you're managing or you're leading the group or a team or any conversation, giving the space for the answer. And that's important from the video side. You can also have a chat. So chat becomes, with working from home, a really significant aspect, because that's the way how you can keep in touch much more often, right? So use the chat also for not only for work, right? For small talk, for example. Like it's kind of a way to keep in touch. So how are you? What is doing? Take the opportunity if you have a chat. We will get on tool. We will get on tool very quickly. But this is more like of a behavioral side, right? I would connect this more of from behavioral perspective. Now, when you use the chat, also for a small talk, you can feel free to add a lot of additional side, right? So you might have emoji that can be useful. Maybe many, I don't know, for example, the Mac, if you press Control Command Spacebar, you open the emoji anytime, right? This gives some more tone, particularly if you're not able to do that. So don't, even in a work environment, I think it enriches the environment, right? And I would also consider the chat as something where you might engage the whole team. So no, regardless, I'm not sure what tool you're having. We can talk about tools, but many tools allow a chat to be public chat, at least internally into the company or internally into the to just that particular team or the environment, right? So the public chat is, imagine that there is a private chat between just two people, right? Public chat would be perhaps within your team. And I would recommend always like use it publicly as much as possible. So what does it mean? If you have a question, instead of just, I have a question for, let's say, imagine we have a social media team. We are like 5 people from different companies, and I need to ask a question to Peter. Right. So one thing, I just go to him directly and ask him the question. or one thing, I go to him directly, ask him the question, but through the public chat, right? So publicly allows everyone to be aware of what is happening, something like you are in the same room and you're just talking and people can overhear, right? And at the same time can actually get engaged. So it enriches the team knowledge, right? And also allows everyone to get engaged, right? So I think that's kind of handy part. Right? It's just an approach, but eventually, if you have a bigger chat for all your company, right? Of course, there are things that might be confidential or that you might want to use only with your own department or your area. But if you have the bigger, the more public it is, the more is enriching, let's say, the corporate knowledge of your home company, right? At the same time as making the team more engaged. So that is where I would use the public chat. Of course, it's normal to feel that the people in this particular time might, or at home, they might feel isolated, they might feel lonely, right? And that's where empathy is also important, right? Particularly from colleague to colleague. How you feel type of question is always useful before just going straight to business. So consider it that we have tools, we can see each other, we can chat with each other, but and behind those tools there are human beings that might even feel that they have other pressures, right? There might be they are just here in front of you, but there is someone waiting for them that you close up the meeting because there is something very important, right? And so on. So empathy might be as well, not only how we feel, but in give space and understand the human dimension. It's when you are in the office, it's kind of easier because you are just in the office, so you can really, in sometimes, you give really the full space on it to work. But in a family and work environment, you might not be able to do it, or you might, like in my case, I stretch my work in different hours of the day. So we'll talk about time management there, but you're maybe not able to do the same 8 hours, but you do the same 8 hours, but in a different kind of set, and according to, of course, the job you have, the meetings you have, and so on, right? But giving the space as well to your colleague and giving the understanding is part of it. Visual is the last part. So visual is something important. So visualize conversations, visualize whatever information comes in, right? That's useful to digest it later on. You cannot have the opportunity to maybe talk, so visualize with gestures, visualize with content, so that your team will be able to see it all. There are some tools, right, where you are able as well to visualize online projects. So tools like Mural or Trello, right? I don't know, we can get into Trello, but these tools are able where everybody at the same time, even Google Docs. So when you talk with your team, perhaps having a Google Doc where everyone can actually co-create at the same time and write on the same document is a way to visualize, and is a way to based on one point. So that's kind of handy. And at the same time, you have something at the end, like that is like a memory or like a meeting minute and so on, like docs and create on the document. Okay, so that's one side from me, humanity behavior. Let's get on to the time management part. So it might be tough to deal with the time. So now focusing on how our time works is kind of important. But before that, is there any question in the chat, Peter? Anyone is getting there? No, I'm not seeing any question in the chat. But you can still place a question in the chat or unmute yourself.
So
You have a question, Peter?
I just wanted to. Can you hear me, Lele?
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to provide the opportunity to also to everybody to pose questions. So far, we haven't received a question to the whole crowd, but maybe one question I'm wondering about is this the MindNote tool that you are using, Lele, to draw the diagram?
Yes. Yeah. Something like that. Something of the kind of MindNote. Yes.
Okay.
It's basically I use it quite a lot when I create the ideas or presentation. I figure out that one main thing, right, if we talk about visual, is that make it dynamic, right? So where if we make it dynamic, it's it's basically a way where uh, you can still be on the point of the conversation. While if you have a fixed slide, and usually we have like business style has a lot of slides generally, right? When we are on fixed slide, usually we lose maybe the point sometimes. You might be like you have a distraction, you switch, you have a sound somewhere, the bell rings, the postman comes, whatever, and then okay, where are them, right? What are they talking about? And you might miss part of it. So you don't want often, like humanly, you never want to stop and say, okay, sorry guys, I missed the point. Can you repeat? Doesn't happen so often, right? We are kind of scared of doing it sometimes. So if you are always on the point, you're always right in the last point, you help as well these kind of situations, right? So where I like this kind of continuous creation on the spot. I can use other stuff, right? It's not, it doesn't have to be. For example, one of my favorite, we can talk about tools. One of my favorite tools is called Draw .io. I can actually send you the link here, where you actually it's a free tool, right? But you can have empty diagrams online, and you just drag and drop whatever. Right? Can you say hello, folks? And then it's easier for everyone to. You can save it like when you finish it, it directly saves on your desktop and so on. But from here, you make diagrams, right? So it's a very handy tool, and yeah, it's excellent. So you don't need any particular license, in an open source thing, and you can even bring here deals like that, right, that are funny. There is a rich kind of list of kind of icons to make it much more visual. You have a color changes and so on. And yeah, I kind of like this kind of styles and tools. Like, so either this or this for me are the same. This is just because I'm more used to it, but at the end it's the same, right? And that is exactly what when you finish, you can export as a PDF, and what you get is exactly, you just put it on your device, right? And when you finish it, you get exactly what you want, and that is the PDF file, right?
Lele, one question coming directly from our director. Thank you, Ronald, for posing the question. I would say it's a kind of a pro futura question, looking a little bit to the future.
Mm-hmm.
And given the fact that currently a lot of people are working from home because they simply have to due to the health situation around us, if you as an expert on social media and on home office, if you see the so-called risk or that more people might eventually be working for more employers, sorry, at the same time, actually, even maybe more competitors at the same time. Do you think this might happen in the maybe months, years to come, that people will start working for more companies at the same time from home?
I so I don't. I mean, I don't. I cannot imagine what would be really the difference between this and non-home office, right? In some cases, I mean, you could do the same even if you're in your office, right? It doesn't. I mean, it's very hard to check people what they're doing with their laptops, right? So what I don't see is I don't see the difference between it's still human behavior, right? It's still based on honesty. It's still based on how people are. So I don't think that working from home makes people less honest. So that's one point from my side, right? So I don't see that risk, but actually that's where it's. It's even one reason, right? Sometimes where people try or want to get somewhere else or want to do some other jobs is really the engagement, right? So it's very important, the people engagement. So that means
I also personally see some potential for freelancers to take this way in the future. Maybe this is more valid for those who are freelancing rather than regular employees of corporations, let's say. Because also if you look back to the last year, even the European Commission proposed some of the tools how to support freelancing in the European Union, but that was in a time when coronavirus was not so spread as it is at the moment. But it might end up that people will simply, some of the people will decide to quit their regular job, I would say, and maybe go on, on freelance, due to the fact that more and more people will be used to work remotely. But I agree with your point that probably people won't lose their honesty just because they are working from home. So it will definitely be a challenge to keep being loyal to your employers, right?
loyalty. I'm not thinking about loyalty. I think it's more than companies, people, right? So it's like usually, I mean, as well in IBM, it's never IBM the problem. Is that particular manager and that particular team usually. And also, talking with all the other members in social media teams around BSCs, it's always the same. It's like when you have your leader or a teammate or someone that doesn't make you feel good or doesn't make you feel accepted and so on, that's where actually you start thinking, I need to go somewhere else, right? I don't care anymore so much. So that's where also from home, I shared the humanity part, because it's the empathy, the keeping in touch, the knowing what people are doing. One very handy thing would be just a how are you call for 10 minutes every morning with all the team, everybody sharing their videos, grabbing a coffee, something like that creates this kind of good environment. And from the other side, it might be that eventually we will be working remotely wherever, no matter where. It depends also on legislation sometimes, right? Uh, but from my perspective, even I'm from Italy, right? And I'm working in Slovakia, right? And I'm working from IBM here in Bratislava. But at the same time, I'm not sure even if I could work for another country, I would move so much, right? So people tendentially um, go in the places where they can. They want to stay in the environment. This is good as well for the environment side, like travel, less needs. You can stay with the people you have around, right? It might be a transformation, but not necessarily a negative transformation. It's just a different way how we think the reality, right? And we can see nowadays that we can do things, particular certain kind of job can be happening from doesn't matter where you are located. You just need to reinvent it. And usually, and everybody shares, when you're at home, you even many even work more than where they are in the office, right? So it's not about productivity. It's not a problem of. It's more the only issue mostly is the contact, right? Is the face to face, the direct interconnectivity. But we can avoid, or no, not avoid. We can improve the contact just by being more digitally savvy on one side, like being ready and get into those right tools and right way where we can actually all see each other. And once maybe all this kind of situation is gonna be over, I would still like to meet people, like maybe to go to the office, maybe not every day, but when I go, I just focus on contact. Like I just focus on human interaction, just focus on networking, just focus on doing that kind of connection that then is so rich for my own work, for my own productivity, and also for the company to create this kind of community that makes people happier, and happier people just produce better, right?
Right. Getting back to the empathy that you have mentioned at the first place, and also speaking about some of the useful hints that might keep the teams together. Actually, looking for the so-called glue managers use to keep their teams feeling okay, even remotely. For instance, one of the things that we in AmCham team we have developed together, and we just agreed on doing it at least once a week, is to have the so-called breakfast together, right, or short coffee together every Monday or every Tuesday. Do you have experience with those kind of team spirit that teams would eventually go, let's say, to have a joint coffee every morning at 9 for 15 minutes and sharing their content?
Yes, I do. Um, it's it's usually time wise. Sometimes it gets longer, right? So not everybody can stay until the long, but the idea is just 10 minutes, 9 a.m. in some teams, and another team I had in the afternoons after lunch around 1 p.m. Just to get in touch, right? Okay, let's have daily stand up. In some teams, we have a weekly stand up. So even if we don't have a progress, we just meet, and for the sake of meeting as well, right? For the sake of, okay, and usually when you have a meeting, sometimes you just get to know something more about your team members, or sometimes you just get ideas. Right. Okay. We could do that. Right. Yes, I wasn't thought about. It's like the work progresses, even indirectly, even if it's not the main point of the meeting, just because you talk about it, or you start. Okay, that moment I see you, I start thinking about those topics related to us and our cooperation, and that's where I move on. So it's something I would recommend to do. And the tools now you can even do for free. You don't need to pay for a license of something. You just need a laptop or a mobile phone, right? That's
A lot of due to the current health situation, a lot of AmCham member companies have decided to open or to access their tools, their online tools, free of charge for, let's say, 90 days or 120 days to be used. Yeah. And thank you for mentioning the empathy. I find it very, very important as well in managing any teams. And thanks so much also for bringing the issue of time management, as sometimes if we decided to have a morning coffee at 9 together every day, and we would for 15 minutes, and we would prolong it also to 1 hour, that it would kind of lose sense to have such a
of course. Just keep 10 minutes, 15 minutes,
10-15
no more.
minutes might be just sufficient.
And one very handy thing is particularly from the sorry, for the leader of the group, would be to give at least 1 minute each of space to say, what are you working on now, and what you think you're gonna do in this today or this week, right? So just to have the opportunity to bring it there, and if at the same time, right, you visualize it, then it's even more interesting. So visualize it, for example, with tools like I showed before. If someone, you just put it in a way where you just track what somebody says, and where everyone can see it, right? So in the moment when we need, or someone says, I could help you with that, right? You have an instance, a wall or something, right?
Okay, thanks so much.
To share they worked on and what they plan to do. Okay. Now, going to the time management, I think it's quite relevant as a point. So one important part is the calendar. So calendar is what allows us, right, to you know, to organize our days. So how can we do it? How can we manage to do that? So one, from my experience, generally, the calendar is kind of is not only for the meetings, but it's also for yourself, right? What do I mean? Um, so you book as well things you have to do for home, for reading, for studying, for focus time, and so on, right? So, and this is like uh, something that I do as well. Sometimes I call it tomorrow calendar, right? So I finish my day and say, okay, what I'm gonna do tomorrow, right? What I plan. I leave some space. Of course, I have the meetings. Right? Today I have this meeting, this meeting, this meeting. Okay, you have some space in the middle. How wanna dedicate this space? And you just block it as well. Right? So okay, I dedicate this space for mailings or whatever. Right? Then I block another space for example, myself taking care of one particular learning, or I block it for kids. So this is time for kids. I'm at home, so this time is dedicated to go down and play with kids for half an hour, right? So if you have this kind of calendar, then you know that in those moments when you booked even for kids or for cooking or for whatever, you don't have meetings coming in that moment, right? People that will be able to see your calendar in some company, they see that, and so you are not blocked there, and you can dedicate some time with it. So um, block time for family, reading or studying, learning, right, and focus time. So that's kind of handy. Another thing I'm doing in the calendar is, if you can, in some, but I think also Google allows it, but several calendars, also Outlook, set up automated acceptance, right? So instead of you accepting the calendar invitations, I do it differently. I block that's just my personal suggestion. So I block my time according to what I plan to block, right? And I leave some time still free, empty. So if that time is empty, people will be able, at least within the corporation, right? So if they share the same or they can see your calendar, they see when you have space time, and if they send an invite, automatically gets accepted without even you reviewing it. So this helps a lot. You don't need all this time to accept it and review it and check it. If the time is free, the meeting is booked. And for that, there are also several online applications for it. If you even Google Calendar is a good option, right, to make it private and to get invitations. But that's one of the point. Another point of time management is set focus time, and focus time, I would say, is not something that is good for the whole day. It's important. It's very hard for humans to really focus. And anytime we focus, think about now as well. If you try to focus on what I'm saying for the next 2 minutes without thinking about anything else or without looking at another point on your monitor or around your home, it's hard, right? So it's hard to focus for more than 2 minutes. It's even harder than to do it for half an hour or 1 hour. So focus time, something I use quite often is what I call the Pomodoro technique. And that is, I mean, you don't really need to go on the official website of it, even if I'm gonna share it with you, but this is the website of it. But usually the main concept is chunks of focus time, right? So separate your day on focus time moments of usually 25 minutes. So let's say now I have a special file I need to work on, I decide these next 25 minutes are the time I'm just dedicating to that. Trying to avoid, so mentally saying that this is just 25 minutes. So anything that is happening before or after will have to wait. And if something is happening during the time, I try to avoid it. So I get a phone call, I just switch it off immediately, come back to those 20, because it's just 25 minutes. Like people can survive 25 minutes without us, right? The world is not gonna collapse. So in this way, you will avoid all this kind of refocusing time, right? If you get distracted with something, it's harder to get refocused. You need some minutes, up to 15 minutes, just to go back to say, okay, what was I doing, where I am, and so on. So organizing in chunks of 25 minutes helps you at least to really progress. And this is just progress. You don't supposed to finish everything, all your work in 25 minutes. It would be too much, right? Maybe you need 3 chunks of that time. Maybe you need 4 time. But just 25 minutes allows you to just decide to focus on that time. When you finish those minutes, you dedicate some time to recover, have a walk, or go back to something, recheck all the communication you had, right? You may dedicate some time on the rest, and then after maybe 1 hour, or after 5 minutes, or after half an hour, according to your schedule, you go back and you decide to dedicate another 25 minutes, right? This should be valuable as well for kids or family around. Let's say kids maybe get a movie, or they have to school and do homework, and say, okay, this is half an hour for you, so that you can take also half an hour, 25 minutes for yourself. So that's kind of setting of a focus time, organizing your day, helped me a lot to progress, particularly when I need to really be there for a long time on some kind of job, right? I'm doing graphic design, I'm doing video editing, I'm doing presentation, preparing on stages and something like that, that needed a lot of this kind of focus time, right? So iterate with more, they are called pomodoros actually, right? So with more pomodoros of 25 minutes and progress. Don't I have a chat in front? Okay. Leave aside all other distraction meanwhile. So that's part of time management. Another important thing about time management that is important is to deal with urgency. So now that you work from home, that everybody works from home, we should really think about what is urgent and what not. And that's actually, I think, is very much connected as well with the humanity side. So what does it mean? Sometimes we say, things are, I want this by tomorrow morning, right? Okay. How much time do you think is going to be your employees or the people in your team are able to do this? Is it doable to really do by tomorrow morning? You can consider there is family around, there is a lot of things. So how we set the urgency as well is part of engagement, right? So set urgency, it's normal to set urgency if that person is exactly the only one that needs to do the job and exactly the one that is supposed to do it in that particular moment, right? Of course. But thinking twice about it, right? If it's really urgent, if it really needs to be done by tomorrow morning, if it can be done a little bit later, or how I'm asking for that urgency. Am I sending a mail? Am I giving a phone call? Right? This is important as well to consider, right? It helps to also to feel the heat of something that that is very urgent. Of course, that people are supposed, everybody is willing to do a good job, right? So when you get an urgent matter, you want to do it as much as you can, but also you have a lot of things to deal. You have as well maybe your agenda that is already there. So for you need to reschedule already maybe all the things that you were planning to do, right? All the meeting and calendar that we discussed so far. So when you need to refresh your own future because there is an urgent matter, it really should be urgent, and not just something that we think it should be urgent, but maybe it's not, right? And many times, I mean, just last week, I got I don't know, a request where I had to do absolutely something by Monday, and it was Friday afternoon, right? So in this case, I worked Sunday night. I took some time on Monday morning. Everything had to be done, and then it was ready by Monday night, and then it wasn't urgent, right? Nobody needed until yesterday, so like after 1 week. So okay, all this work of this graphic design thing that I did with rewriting with my wife, dealing with the kids, making sure that everybody doesn't take care of me because I had to do this urgency. It wasn't really urgent. It was something, yeah, just because someone wanted to show off that we had it ready, right? So think about the humanity part of it, and really reflect on yourself. And it's not only if you're the boss, but also if you're a teammate. So think twice about the urgency. And connected with the urgency that is also connected with emotions is think about emotions in the messages you share. So it means if you use a chat can be interpreted much in a different way, right? So if you have a message that might be interpreted with kind of a different emotional reaction, particularly if you talk about urgency, then people are, maybe it's better a video call, maybe it's better a phone call, maybe it's better to give as many information as possible on the situation, get much more in touch face to face, gives much more holistic view of what is the matter, and allow people as well to discuss, right, to co-create. So choose the best channel. So that's part of this. And now let's get on some of the tools. So I don't know.
Well, excuse me.
Yeah,
Just one thing that is popping to my mind as you were talking about the set of urgency and basically the responsibility to look after your teammates and to look after your employees regarding setting the urgency tone. Especially in the shared service industry, it's quite common that people are free to divide their work, across almost 24 hours, as you were suggesting. You spend some time overnight to design and just to make sure your task would be ready by Monday night.
Yeah.
What would be your suggestion to managers regarding work overnight? I would say. I mean, people prefer quite often to spend some time with their kids, with their families during the day more. Once the kids go to bed in the evening, then you take your laptop and you finish the work, and sometimes you end up being online after midnight. What would be your suggestion to managers if they are aware of such a procedure that their employees are quite often? I know that some of the companies don't even allow their employees to work after PM. They can track it. But what would be your suggestion? How do you see that?
I mean, from my experience, one thing is like, I would not have any problems in the time when somebody wants to work, right? Particularly if you are flexible with your schedule. I might prefer to have, I don't know, 2 hours more of yoga in the morning and then just work more in the night, right? So if my task is for tomorrow, it doesn't really matter when I do it, right? As far as this is part of my agenda. So this gives me much more flexibility to me to say,
Right.
for example, my kids go to sleep at 9 in the evening, right? 8:30. So that is actually super exciting time for me where I can progress some work. Maybe during the day is a bit harder. So being flexible like that helps me to be much more productive, right? And if it doesn't bother me as employee, it's fine, right? So this really depends on. But from the manager, I think when you when you set up expectation, that is where you need to at least to be aware of how much your employees need to work for that particular task, right? So that is needs touch contact, and at the same time, letting them know that you know that they might need to do an additional effort in some times, knowing that they cannot do this additional effort all the time, right? So there should be a balance with it. It's okay to work one night for or 2 nights for an important job. It's not okay to do it every single day. To keep having urgency all the time. So just give space for people to recharge their batteries, to have their life, because it's the healthy employee also produce better at the same time, and let them know that you don't want them to work too much, right? You don't want them to work overtime or to work on midnight just for this thing, right? If they didn't plan it before. So I think this kind of transparency is what makes the whole experience much more pleasant. Right? So be transparent, ask aloud. You cannot make.
If I understand correctly, we are getting back to the empathy point again in these
Just get to
regards.
people. Transparency. It's relevant there.
Okay, thank you so much. And I also encourage our participants to post questions into the chat into the chat box. It's still available, and feel free to ask questions either publicly that's the function using post questions to everyone, or also feel free to address your questions privately either directly to Lele or to myself. Thank you. Take the opportunity as much as you can.
Tool-wise, it's hard to talk about tools because I know that each company has its own tool sometimes. So you cannot really, and sometimes you cannot really use everything that is on the internet. You need to consult your IT department, right, and ask, okay, can I use this tool? Is it allowed? It depends on, I mean, important security is the most important thing to consider here, right? So, okay, is the corporate information going to be in danger if we use certain tools? So this is like as a premise. You cannot use everything, but in some, I know that in some little environment as well, or even in big corporates, there is always the opportunity to find new tools and propose them as great options because maybe they're not available. Maybe the only option you have is just email, right? And then, okay, why don't we have a video conferencing system? Why don't we have a collaboration? Why don't we have a chat? Why don't we have this kind of working document together? So you can always, bring new ideas to the IT department. Or experiment in some safe spaces or safe areas. So that is one area. Said that, there are the best way to use tool is in combination. Is to get the right mix. So one thing I did several years ago was to stop using emails for a while in my company. Not because I just didn't want to use them at all, but because I said, okay, is there a way to survive without email communication? Now, email was still now like one of the most used way, but I found out that it's not actually necessary. It's not important the channel, but what is the best way to pass the message, right? So it's important to pass the message regardless of the channel. So in really few cases, audits or the business control says you have to use this particular channel for that particular task. I don't know, it needs to be an email approval. Usually they say it needs to be approved. So as far as you can document that that person approved that thing at that particular time, it could be okay as well to use another tool. So that actually gives you a bit of space to experiment if you're allowed with different tools. So for example, and many tools are free. So tools like Trello. I don't know if you ever use Trello, or like it's. Let's see if I have it open. Right? No, it's not this. It's hold on. Okay, so Trello.com is an amazing tool, right? So I can go in one that I started creating. it's a way to visualize, right? So it's just you have cards, you have boards, you can just get something and move it somewhere else, right? And allows you to visualize the work. So any card, okay, like can be a to-do list, to-do of today. You can have description on every card. People can comment in it. You can set up a due date. You can set up a checklist, right? And you say like, you know, I need to buy potato, tomato, and so on, right? In the way to check the boxes and then see the progress of your tasks. And when maybe the shopping or the project, whatever is done, you can just drag it somewhere else into a done card. And so imagine how you can visualize it differently. You can, I don't know, you can open a picture and where is it? You can copy the picture and you can really paste a picture as well inside of it. And then the picture is visible as well on the card. So it's a good tool for visualization and it's free. If you log in www.trello.com, it's an option for you to use it for free as well, right? Another great tool I like is Slack. So Slack is instead a tool for conversation. So conversation means it's like in the past we were using IRC, if you remember, if you are some people like many years ago were using Mirk for having divided in channels and chats. So people can really divide their own chats into various channels and topics, and you can have this kind of public conversation and not only private conversation. It's a free tool, right? Or you have a lot of amazing tools are for videos, like we have Zoom or WebEx are nice tools for doing video communication. So where they're free, particularly, for example, tool like Zoom, you can log in with your username and password, you generate it even and it's free, right? Google has a big suite of Google document and so on. So there are so many tools and it's very hard to share them all, right? What I'm gonna share is more or less is the mix. So when you start talking to your team and you're having your own process, think about, okay, how would it be better? What would I need to do? Do I need to co-create on the screen? Would I need to see them and talk to them? Would I need to just have a chat or whatever? And then there is a tool for it, right? There is always a tool for it, and most of the tools are free for a certain limited time. Something like that you can, I don't know, do a limited number of chats or a limited number of cards and so on, and then, but often is actually enough for one project or something like that, right? So find the right combination, right? And the right mix to deal with those tools.
Lele?
Experiment, ask around. There is always my favorite. Slack and Trello are two of my favorite, definitely. Tell me.
Just wondering, what is your opinion on Microsoft Teams? This is becoming more and more popular as as the schools are closed, a lot of businesses are being closed down or have shifted their operations on remote. And at least our experience from the last couple of weeks is that a lot of people across public sector, across private businesses have started to use Microsoft Teams. How do you see that?
It's a nice tool. It's very similar to Slack, I would say, where it allows you to do videos, to share information, and to chat and talk. The important thing of all these tools is, of course, it cannot satisfy all the needs. For example, Microsoft Team could be good, but you might need the Trello at the same time to have something visualized and fixed there, while Microsoft Team is more for a direct conversation. And additionally, it's like, you go into that disco because people are dancing there, right? If you go to a disco and the disco is empty, you don't want to go in that disco, right? So at the same time, if Microsoft Teams is a good tool, you should, the first thing is share with your team and agree with them, this is the tool that we're going to use, right? So make sure that this becomes part of your daily routine. that you check, so that if I write you a message there, I know that you're gonna reply to me. Otherwise, we can agree on a Trello, but if nobody going to there to update the cards and so on, then it's pointless, right? So make this first agreement on the tool mix, right?
Okay, thanks so much.
So that's main important. And there are also a lot of interesting tools. For example, one is I think it's this one, Canva. Right. So there are tools like this that are still free, but allow this, for example, to make posters or graphics. So this tool, for example, is very much used for YouTubers and whoever creates the thumbnails for the videos, right? So it's not only tools for collaboration, but also for making your own presentation, your own content nicer, right? So think about this side. YouTube in itself is a good tool, right? If you when you add a video on YouTube, for example, you can also add that video as unlisted so that people cannot find it from outside. So imagine you have in your team you have all these replays to share. Where do you share the video replays of your team meetings or the tutorials? You should find as well a place where you can load all the videos and people can play those videos. So that's also considering the opportunity. And another part of the tools, probably the last point of it, is the mobile. So all of these tools, many tools have as well a mobile application available. Having it ready on your mobile as well makes you much more flexible, right? Also, Microsoft Teams has also a mobile version, so you can really chat from your mobile. So it doesn't matter where you are at home sometimes. If you're even not in front of your desktop, but you are, on the sofa, you're just relaxing for a second, but you can still keep chatting, keep having that team conversation, maybe with the phone in front of you. Right? You don't really need on in your laptop. There is much more, right? Or tools and apps on mobile, if possible. So be flexible. Okay. And this gets to any final question, because I think the time is ready for any final questions.
So far being almost 100% accurate. Thanks so much. It's been 11 a.m. We still keep the floor open to everybody for asking questions. So members, friends, whoever, please use the time wisely. Still while Lele is available during the webinar, please feel free to post questions in the chat room, or if desired, feel free to wave to us or ask questions directly.
I get a question from what are the don'ts of time management? So things that you shouldn't do, right? So I would say not really related to the time, but actually it can be related to the time. But I would not use the same room for kind of, if you can, right, from home and work in the way like don't work on the bed. Try to have a separate space. That helps as well for the time management, because you get it's a different habit, it's a different setup, right? You get much more energy if you have a separate space for everything, right? Then from time management perspective, I wouldn't keep all the meetings connected. Have a buffer of at least I don't know, 10 minutes, 5 minutes minimum between meetings, so you have time to prolong it for a little while, and so the other one don't have to wait for you, right? But also this allows your live side, right, to say, okay, I give a buffer 10 minutes and then I'm going to do the other thing. That's kind of handy from that side. And there is a last point that I wouldn't do it is kind of don't mix the various tasks. Try to be mindful of what you're doing in that moment. That means if I need to work on a particular thing, don't then get a mail, start reading a mail, and then start replying to that mail, and then go back to work in that particular thing. Try to assign your time and respect it. It's hard, but this discipline is gonna get on you eventually, right? You become a routine, and so you lose much less of your time into finding yourself again. It's like, what was I doing before? Okay, I'm born here, and that's important.
I see that Tanya is very much looking forward to the bonus part. So let's
Okay.
I guess let's jump directly to that one.
My bonus part. So first, my personal hints and tips, right? So
It's like a reward for those who manage to
it's a
stay
reward for
connected.
who is still here. So first point is focus on a good audio. So that means I have a microphone here with me. I have another microphone here with me. I have some of them, but this is part of my job. But at least one, I would invest a little bit on a good audio. It's so important when you talk to people that they can really listen to you and hear what you say. And particularly now that maybe we are at home and we weren't used to it, we might just have the audio from our laptop or just the headset on us, right? So headset might be okay, but if you can, that's why just the bonus question is not for everybody. If you want or can invest a little bit on a good mic, table mic, it would be actually nice. Second point is kind of get ready on mobile. What does it mean? That sometimes or webcam, right? Let me add as well or webcam. So you could, for example, there are very cheap, nice webcams like the one I'm using, right? That have better quality than the webcam I have on my kind of laptops. This is kind of handy. And if you don't have a webcam, you don't want to invest in a webcam. All the smartphones are amazing because they have great cameras in it. But for this, always better and to have some stand, something that you can have it and it stays there, right? This kind of stand with they're called like selfie stick or whatever, but you can actually keep it on the table and it's always there fixed. So you can use your phone, right? Phones have even better microphones sometimes that the laptop, but make a way where they can see and they don't see it from below where you are in, but just it's important. It's nice to see people and to see them well and in a good way. So, and maybe that would be like take a selfie stick. Then another point is behind background, mind the background. So you can, one thing is never have a window behind of you because otherwise your face is super dark. So try to have a light in front of you, right? I can show you, I have a very simple background myself, nothing really special. If I enlarge my whole area, see if you can see it. Right, so now you can see the area around me, right? It's a simple panel. It was kind of $20, something like that, but allows you to just be on a place. You don't need to see everything around. And it can be easy or handy in some areas if you really don't have a good space to be. A simple background is kind of nice, or just try to have a white wall or something that doesn't disturb. It's important actually to know, like that is not good to have a meeting because you should see the faces of the people, so as close as possible at least to see who we're gonna talk to. So that's important about the minding of the background. So those are my basic bonus hints and tips that really will make the experience of the vision, the now home experience, much more interesting, right? And maybe for leaders, for everybody that is leading a team and needs to change something, or maybe they're more interested, is start video blogging. So for video blogging, I mean, you have now a camera, you have now a microphone or your phone. You can just take a video of yourself, maybe every Monday, maybe once a month, as you wish, and you can tell to your teams, reach out to all your extended teams, maybe 200 people, maybe 20 people, no matter how many, and in a short video telling them not only the human touch, but also what are the business needs, what you need to do, what are the main points of the week, what is the progress of the work. And this video blogging helps a lot to be on the same page. It doesn't have to be long, but if it's done regularly, I think it's a great way to lead with a definite kind of example and with transparency. That's it from my side.
Lela, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been great. It's been a great session with some useful tips and hints. And I personally, most of all, appreciate your kindness and your personal approach to the topic. There are so many ways how to tackle the remote work approach. And basically those tips that you have shared might definitely work for a lot of people who have to combine, family duties and work duties. Obviously, we know that the situation will last for probably a couple of more months, but no one knows exactly how long. But even though, as you mentioned, more and more people will be used to working remotely, and we can definitely expect that once the COVID-19 crisis will be over, once the outbreak will go down, definitely there will be, I would say, appetite. There will be hunger for remote work to become a standard, or to become at least a vital part of our daily routine. So thank you so much. This has been a very useful session. I would like to highlight the fact that we have recorded the session, and it will be available to all AmCham members on AmCham website. And also this brings me this is bringing me back to the idea that AmCham, apart from this one, AmCham has prepared a series of webinars for all the members that are interested in learning something new, in sharing their own content. I will be happy to share the web page for everybody, where you can direct your attention and check the list of next webinars that we have prepared. There is one coming up provided by Slovenská sporiteľňa already on this Thursday, and there is one, I would say, using Lele's vocabulary, bonus webinar taking place this Friday as a discussion with a member of the board of the National Bank of Slovakia, Mr. Odor, and that will be, I would say, a macroeconomic discussion and debate on the forecast of the Slovak economy in the next months, next weeks and months. So feel free to check out and register for those two. Apart from that one, I would like to encourage all the members to simply don't to hesitate. And if you feel like you have a interesting content, if you feel like that you would like to share something else or help other members within AmCham network, within AmCham community, feel free to connect to any of AmCham staff member, and we can definitely prepare a session like this one with your under your leadership. We'll be thankful for your help towards AmCham community with some of the tips and tricks on topics that you find important in these days. And most importantly, apart from the list of webinars that we have prepared for members, you can check also some of the latest updates regarding COVID-19 on AmCham webpage. So apart from the schedule of webinars, you can track the ways how different members are helping other companies, You can track some of the useful public health sites that are there as well. And simply, this is a place for AmCham network to change their content and to share the ways how we can help each other in the tough times. So thank you so much for that. We are looking forward to having you again, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday, maybe the week after that. And please keep up together with AmCham network. Thank you so much, Lale, most importantly. And thank you so much, everybody who managed to stay connected until this time.
Thanks for listening. Stay healthy, keep smiling, and stay safe.
That's it. Stay healthy
Bye.
and
Ciao.
keep smiling. Thank you.